To have passion in life is everything.
What's your Everest?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
that 200-inch buck?
They just look so impressive when they're wide.
Especially running away.
Welcome to this week's episode of Eastmans Elevated.
It's like a think tank for outdoor activity.
Sounds exactly like my hunting. Just always thinking about it, always trying to evolve it and make it better.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? We got a brand new Eastmans Elevated for you. So on today's episode, I have back on my friend Brandon Purcell. I really like this guy. He lives in western Montana. We've hunted together a bit. I want to do more adventures with him, but he's just an absolute hunting fanatic, and he's really good at it. So we start the conversation by talking construction. He's building his own house right now, the same as I did. So it just cracks me up. We end up laughing quite a bit in the beginning. It's a pretty funny portion. So I thought I'd leave it in there for you guys. So it's about the first 10 or 12 minutes or so talking about building houses and getting frustrated and kind of the trials and tribulations of it. Just had me rolling on the podcast. But then we get into talking about deer and elk hunting. We talk about with archery, and then also the late rifle, which Brandon is really good at, and I learned a lot over the years hunting late rifle. Talk mule deer, and man, just made for a great overall podcast. You can support Brandon. Again, he's guiding this year, so I wanted to get out this podcast before the Montana deadline, so he's still got some openings for deer and elk, and really knowledgeable guy, one of the best hunters I know, and then also really fun to hang with. So make sure to look him up there. Again, his name's Brandon Purcell, and his Instagram, which he's good at responding back to, he's got, it's like, let me look it up real quick while I got you guys here. Durango Boone is his Instagram, so you can follow him on there, shoot him a message. So we'll get right into the podcast. I just want to thank a couple of our sponsors. I want to thank Stone Glacier. Brandon Purcell also uses Stone Glacier for a bunch of his gear. Stone Glacier is just a great company with great guys. They're located in Bozeman, Montana. They have a new storeroom there that I want to go visit. But I'm friends with a lot of these guys and have nothing but respect for the ultralight technical gear that they produce. So I've been using their sleep systems. They have a great bivy tent that's like a modular system that you can add to or take away depending on what weight you want to go and the weather you're going to encounter. But it's a bivy tent, so it weighs in at about 1.5 pounds. And then I like the bathtub floor. It keeps bugs and mice out of the tent. And then the vestibule is also nice to store my gear. So that's kind of my setup as I run the tent, bathtub floor, and the vestibule. If it's a real early season hunt, I can go without the bathtub floor, if there's not going to be a bunch of bugs and critters. And I can also do without the vestibule to go ultra lightweight, around 1 pound. And it sets up with the trekking poles, really good setup to it. And then I also like their tents. They have a one-man 4-season tent that is just absolutely bomb-proof. So I use this quite a bit. Like, this would be good if you're really going to get into some rough weather or get into the later season. So you can check those out. They have a 1- and 2-person 4-season. I've been using the 2-person. It's got good room in it too, and just a bomb-proof tent. So check those out. Sleeping bags are awesome. They have a 15-degree, 0-degree, and then they also have a 30-degree blanket, which I've tried out, which is really good for like those summertime camping and early season scouting and stuff like that. So make sure to check out everything they have. Really like those guys. So over at Stone Glacier. I also want to thank Outdoor Edge. Outdoor Edge makes a replaceable blade knife, but their blades are just made strong with a lot of support, so you're not busting blades as you're processing an animal. They come razor sharp, easy to replace, super safe, folding knife so it's not open in your pocket. I can really butcher a whole deer, whole antelope with a blade. Elk, usually I go through a couple blades, but it's just so nice not to have to pack multiple knives or sharpeners when I'm hunting big animals with thick hides like elk and things. So you can check these guys out, Outdoor Edge knives. We've been using them for years over here at Eastmans and really like those guys. You can also check out Black Ovis. So Black Ovis is an internet retail shop that sells absolutely everything you need for your hunts. These guys have some great programs like their point system, where for purchases you get points, and then 1 point equals $1 that you can use on future purposes. We have a promo code there where you can save 10% on your order. So pick out any of your best hunting gear and save 10% on it by using the code Elevated10. And a bunch of stuff as well as their own name brand. They carry a bunch of all the top brands, so you can search pretty much anything you need from hunting and get it from those guys. Really knowledgeable staff that's there to answer your questions as well. So go check those guys out over at Black Ovis. You can also check out Camo Fire. Great app that you can really pick up some good deals on hunting gear. So there's 80 new deals that come up every 24 hours. You watch the app and get huge discounts on overstock items or oversize or anything of that nature. But there's just some really good gear on there, and you can pick up some good deals. You can check that out at Camo Fire. And over at Eastman's, I'm going to run over to the office here next week, so that should be good. Just meeting about different things we're working on. You can check out everything we do. Of course, the magazines, Eastman's Bowhunting, Eastman's Hunting Journal. Each of those have 6 issues a year, 12 issues total. We have Eastman's Tag Hub. Right now is tag application season, so I'm putting a lot of time and work on that. And right now through Tag Hub, if you put in the promo code Brian, you can get a year subscription to Mountain Tough Fitness. So it's a heck of a deal. We also have bundles in there for the Mule Deer course and Tag Hub, and giving away those Mountain Tough subscriptions, which is great. It's just a great program that I've been using. So you can check that out. Check out our Beyond the Grid on YouTube. You can just search Eastman's Hunting TV. We always have new episodes coming out there. I saw an episode come out the other day, which is an archery black bear hunt with Brandon Mason and Todd Helms. They had just an awesome hunt up in Canada up there, so you can check that one out, among many others. So we have that going, and with that, I got that new Phase 4 set up and shooting. I actually shot I've been trying to shoot a 300 Vegas round for probably like the last 10 years. I've shot a couple 299s, and then, my average has got to be 295 to 298. That's all with my hunting setup, small arrows, 70 pound, but it's always been my goal to shoot a 300. My first round with that new Phase 4, I shot a 321X. So I'm pretty pumped with that. I think I know that bow is absolutely shooting. So I've been messing with that quite a bit in the evenings. I was out tinkering again until about 8 last night. So fun with that bow, man. It's going to be a great bow for me. But yeah, just love what all those guys are doing over there. So anyways, that's what I'm working on. Getting ready for big springtime hunts here. Less than a month away. Super stoked. So with that, let's get into this podcast. Brandon has me absolutely rolling at the beginning of this podcast talking about building. Really like this guy. He's just a great human being and an excellent hunter. So Brandon Purcell's the guest. I'm your host, Brian Barney. Eastman's Elevated. Here we go.
Oh, not much, man. Just enjoying another nice morning.
Yeah, there you go. How's that house coming?
Oh, it's coming, man. Slow but sure.
There we go. You've got the right mental fortitude to make it through something like that. Man, it takes a lot out of you, like especially when you're trying to do the majority of the work yourself.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I've done everything minus the concrete basically by myself. And my dad was up here for like 2 weeks helping me, but other than that, it's just been, a grind.
Dude, I feel your pain and know exactly what you went through. It's for like a better purpose, and in the end, it's like such a great move for you and your family, and it doesn't take too long, and you kind of forget the pain or the grind of it. But yeah, it's the ultimate of grinding, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. It's like, you think that like late season elk hunting is a grind, and then you do winter house building, and then you're really just like, dude, that wasn't anything. You
Dude.
know, this is like you're having to like shovel out every day and all that. It's just like, dude, this is a whole nother level.
Dude, that's so funny. You're so true. Yeah, I got done with that moose hunt and was talking about how difficult that thing was, and then I got in the final push of this house, and I was like, man, that's nothing. I do 10 of those moose hunts, before building a house.
I know. Like, it really puts things into perspective for sure. And like, I've built off and on for like the last, I don't know, 15 years or whatever, but I haven't done it in a while. And it was just like, dude, the grind, the mental grind of getting back into it and like getting my body back into it was rough. It's just rough. Moving like 26-foot TJs by myself. And I was just like, this, they're not too heavy, but I'm like, this sucks. And it's like, you couple that with being like temperatures, hovering in the low double digits. And it's just like, what the fuck am I doing out here right now?
Dude, it'll make you question your sanity. It's just so tough to get things done, to be efficient day in, day out, to be productive, It's like you have to use every free hour, and then you work so hard for 10, 12 hours, and it's such a struggle, and carrying TGIs and you're sore and everything, and you hardly get anything done. It like barely makes a dent. You're like, oh man, a week does nothing, a month does hardly, you just hardly notice the effort, but eventually it comes together, man. So you're on the right track. Where are you at in the house right now?
I'm pretty much, I have all the framing done. I'm just getting ready to set like the center ridge beam of the great room and then do the trusses and all that.
Oh, sweet, man. You're getting there.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely felt like a grind, though. And this is like, you talk about like motivation, and it's like when you're doing it by yourself, that's all you have.
Yeah.
And you're just like trying to like, you think that hunting is hard, and then it's like, no, like at least that's like, I don't know. Not saying building's not enjoyable, but you really got to have some inner drive, to like keep yourself on track.
Oh my God, the ultimate day in, day out. Yeah, it's the ultimate, man. It's like you got to motivate yourself when you're just exhausted and you don't feel like, at least hunting, it's something you love and something you enjoy, and you're interacting with the woods. And carpentry is fun, and building your own house is fun. Well, I don't know if it's fun, but it's like it's a meaningful process. Like, it means a lot to you, and it's really fun to be able to build your own home and design it and put it together. But yeah, when you show up at work, and you're shoveling snow and going for it for another day, and it's just like, man, what am I doing with my life? It's it's just really tough to keep yourself up. I think it's like hunting, or like anything. I think it's tougher mentally than it is physically. Like, your body gets used to the work, or you get used to grinding day in, day out, but it's that mental side of things where it kind of like breaks you down or wears you out. Dude, I'm just finally starting to feel like myself, man. I mean, getting in this place and like having a month to myself of finally, like, I went fishing again. I'm able to run again and shoot my bow. Like, I stopped everything in the end to get it done. You just have to, you got to focus on it to get it finished. But yeah, man, they take so much out of me. Like, and I build for a living and complete houses for a living, but it's just different when you're doing your own, when you're trying to make money, or you're trying to, keep your job going. But also then it's just that, every waking hour on the house trying to get something done, and in the frustration level, man, I find myself like when I get mentally broke down, dude, the frustration level or my anger just jumps to a 10 just out of nowhere, dude. And I was painting my house, right? I did my own paint job on my house, able to save some money, and I remember this point. There's a few points, like low points in building my house or whatever, but this is definitely one of them. And so I decided to do my walls a different color than my ceiling, right? I'm an idiot. It's like I should have just painted the whole thing one color and be done. But you got one chance on your house to make it as cool as you can make it. And I liked like this tan color on the walls and this, like a cream color on the ceiling. So okay. So what you got to do is you got to paint all the walls all the walls the color, everything's primed, ceiling walls are primed. So I've been through this house with the sprayer multiple times, spray the walls tan, and then I go around and you have to mask all the walls off so then you can spray the ceiling white. So you have these clean, nice lines, at the corner of your walls to your ceiling. And so I get up there and I forgot this tool that I found that works really good for it. It's like this masking machine where you put a roll of plastic on there and you put a roll of tape on there, and the tape seats halfway on the plastic, and so you can, with one hand, you can just mask this perfect line around your walls
nice.
in a perfect world. Well, the masker I have, I don't know, but the tape kept rolling off the plastic, kept rolling off the stick, and then it'd pull off the walls, and I was just fighting it, and my frustration level was at 10, and I finally pulled it, and I ripped the tape or ripped the plastic or something, dude, and I just I threw a fit like I was a 3-year-old. I took that tool that's like my lifeline right now, and I hucked it across the room, right? So that thing shatters, and not only did it shatter, the tape ricocheted off the floor and bounced into my brand new wall and put a hole in my brand new wall. Just like, God dang it, man, I cannot win. Oh God, I just get so frustrated. But you got to try to keep your mind right. There's those low times, but it's the ultimate in mental fortitude and just driving forward, and it does mean so much when you get done, dude. So, just keep your head right, keep working away, try to take a day off here or there, man. You'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely, it's a humbling experience, I'm more of a finish carpenter, I'd say. And so, doing all the roughing and the framing and all that, wood's not perfect. And it's just it definitely, it humbles you for sure. You're like, oh, I'm not quite as good as I thought I was, and especially when you have to fix something or redo it completely. That's rough. That's rough. And you talk about anger or frustration. It's dude, I'm standing up this wall in the second story, and I had put the sheets of OSB on before I stood it up, right? And I just I don't know, something, there must have been a low spot in the floor or something, so my measurement was off, and I stood it up, and there was a 1/4-inch gap on one side, and I'm just oh, dude, you start getting off in one spot, and then it exaggerates, obviously the farther along you go. And I was so pissed. And after you use a nail gun to staple something together, it's that sheet ain't coming off easy. And it was at the end of a very, very long day, and I was so pissed, and I ended up just disintegrating 2 sheets of OSB, just fucking full send on those things. My dad was helping me that day. He's like, Brandon, don't do that. And then he just literally walked away. Went and got in his truck, just walked away. He's like, I'm not dealing with this. I was just, angrily pulling that sheet off, and it ended up at about pieces of 1 square foot at a time, and shit.
Oh, dude, I'm crying. Dad walks away. You're just so mad. Dude, I can just picture you taking those sheets off, hitting them so hard with your hammer and pulling pieces apart, just throwing shit, just so mad. Oh, dude, I've been
and
there.
It's I started off trying to pull them all, I stuck my flat bar underneath there, and I'm trying to pop them, but man, once you shoot those nails into there with a nail gun, they ain't coming out.
It's just, dude, it's made to be there forever, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You try so hard not to make mistakes, but it isn't a perfect world on a house. Oh man, to make a mistake like that costs you days or weeks when you got to redo things. I remember I had the guys help me on my house, which was nice, nice to have some effort. And I had thousands of hours myself on it, but it was nice to bring the crew in and help me make hits. And I had these 2 young kids that were helping me out. And they're really good kids from Colorado, great workers, really smart. They can do anything. And Caleb had set the floor tile in the showers while I was working in the master shower, working on the tile. And so he showed up. I was working late. It was like 7, 8 o'clock, and I had to get home to dinner to the family. And I tried not to work myself till like 10, 11, 12 o'clock where I'm just exhausted the next day. I tried to be sustainable where I could wake up the next day, go to work, put in 12 hours, and then shut down or whatever. So I was taking off, and one of the kids was going to work late and set the floor of the shower, and I was exhausted when he showed up. And I said, right on, man, you're going to set that floor of that master shower. Great. And God, he worked late that night. They were trying to put in extra hours, and it was cold outside, and this was inside work. And I think he wanted to take off an extra day for the weekend or something like that. But anyways, I show up in the morning. He had worked for half the night, and he had set the wrong tile in the master shower floor. I showed up, and it was wrong, and we had to tear the whole thing out and start over from square one. That stuff that costs you days. And, ultimately, it was my fault. I thought he was straight on which tile went where in the master bath, so I didn't even say anything. I could have just mentioned it just as I left. Hey, by the way, the rock goes in the master shower there. I didn't say anything. I just figured he knew. It was all wrong when I showed up. Oh, my God. You talk about some episodes of Tourette's doing a house. It's just crazy. There's a few swear words said in this house. It's like I don't know, man. It's a process, but it is like so meaningful when you get done. And man, you and your family are gonna have such a nice house when you get done. But don't you appreciate the help, like your dad coming down and giving you 2 weeks, like donating his time? Isn't that such a huge help when you're doing everything by yourself?
Oh man, yeah, for sure. Like we were able to sheet almost the whole thing, by the time he left, which is awesome. Because it's like, and I made this like, when you're working by yourself, you start working smarter, right? So I made like a jig with a hoist that I like put the jig on top of the wall and then connected the end of the hoist cable to like a jig that I would screw into the piece of the OSB to lift them up. So I wasn't have to like carry stuff up the ladder,
That's smart.
Which was sweet. Yeah. But then like having his help, just even like moving stuff around or him working the hoist while I was on the ladder, like nailing was huge, but it was nice just to see how much more work done I got done with just his help. And he is not like cutting or doing anything. He's just like literally just grunting,
Man, it's such a huge help. The manpower makes such a difference to get 2 guys on site.
For sure.
Like to have my crew come over. My dad did the same thing where he donated, quite a bit of his time. And I'd pay him to help me, but he just donated his time. But yeah, to have like a really good carpenter come through in the finish end and just tackle some of the tough stuff for me, it just saved me so much time, because otherwise you got to touch every piece, every nail. And all my prior houses I did everything by myself, but this one was sure nice to have some help like that. So yeah, well, I didn't get you on the podcast to talk construction, even though I'm really enjoying the conversation. But yeah, man, you're gonna get to hunting season here before you know it. Looks like you're guiding this year in Montana.
Yeah, kind of made a switch up this year just to guide here, just because with the house construction, you're kind of under the gun with, the bank of trying to get it done and all that. So yeah, I'm guiding spring bear hunts here, and then I'm doing archery elk and rifle elk as well.
Oh, dude, I said it on your social media, but you are one of the best bear hunters I know. For black bears in the lower 48, dude, your knowledge is just immense, man. And
thanks, man.
And you're located in such a great place in the state and in the country where you grow some giant bears. I mean, bears that I can't even fathom. I mean, to me, a 6-foot boar is a big bear, but man, you have killed some ones that are just on another level.
For sure. And I mean, we're just kind of, we're blessed in the fact that a lot of the bears in this part of the world, like, die of old age, so it's like, I mean, yeah, you look at the harvest quotas every year and how many bears get killed in these units, and like, there's a few that get killed, but if you think about the sheer numbers of bears that are in there, I've seen like upwards of 15 bears in there in a day. So it's like, you got to think, and that's in one drainage, and I'm not even thinking that I'm surveying all the bears that are in there. Like, I'm probably seeing like a decent number of the overall number of bears in there, but it's like, dude, I'm not seeing all the bears in there, you know, and that's like, that's what, you know, and also what lends itself well to it, like getting old bears, is the country is rugged, you know, like you've spent time over here. It's like, it ain't easy, you know, and so a lot of guys, like, it's easy to see bears. It's another thing to kill bears, you know.
Dude, in that country, it sure is, man. It's it's an adventure over there. It's so rugged, like those canyons up and through there, and then the creek crossings, and then yeah, you may see a bear like you do. You hunt like the same style as I do, from vantage points and master vantage points, and you know that country like the back of your hand. But from those vantage points, you're right. You can see a giant bear, but he's so far away, and a creek crossing, and lose all your elevation and gain all your elevation. It might take you 3-4 hours to get to where he's at, you know. And so there are no guarantees going for him. But like, what a great way to spend your spring is chasing those things around. You got any openings for the spring for bears?
Looks like I have 2 weeks open right now. I believe it's May 29th to June 2nd, and then June 5th to the 9th.
Oh, dude, and those are awesome dates for hunting bears. You couldn't really get better dates.
Oh, man, for sure. Like, yeah, you definitely start getting into the bear rut. And, like, dude, last year, I think it was that June 5th to the 9th hunt, the hunter I had, he was fresh in here from, like, California. I think it was the first day of the hunt, and we saw, like, I mean, it was one of the biggest bears I've ever seen, like, period, and that was kind of a heartbreaking moment. But he was shooting solid copper bullets, and we got into, like, 190 yards of that bear, and he was sitting there munching on arrowleaf balsam root, and I don't know whether it was like a high shoulder shot or what, but I'm fairly positive that bullet did not expand. And dude, that bear turned and ran like 500 feet straight up, you know, and he was like bleeding for a while, but then stopped. But I was a little heartbroken on that one. But man, just that time of year, it's like you end up seeing less bears, I feel like, overall, but the bears you do see, you're going to, like, the possibility of seeing a giant is huge. Huge, you know.
Dude, the biggest bear you've ever seen, what color was it?
Oh, dude, it was like cinnamon.
Oh.
So it was like, you know, it's like the anomaly that you're just like, you never see a bear that big, that color. And it was just like, dude, I was not very happy, but what are you going to do?
Tourette's in the woods, huh?
Yeah.
No,
and then I went and looked for that thing for like 2 days.
Oh,
you know,
that's
I was
too
like,
bad,
well, yeah. And it's just like, dude, it's, you know, what you think was a slam dunk, and then it's just like ends up not. And, you know, that's tough.
Yeah. Well,
tough for everybody.
What outfit are you running through? Or is the best way just to get a hold of you through like social media?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me through social media, and we can kind of talk about like dates and prices. Latitudes Outfitting has all the information for the spring bear hunts.
Okay, that's right.
On the website. Yep. And they should have available dates and all that. People are more than welcome to check that out. I definitely like to vet anyone who's interested, just to make sure we're like a good fit. You know, the country is pretty demanding, and I just want to make sure that like people know what they're in for before they like sign up for a hunt, because the last thing I want is for somebody to like book a hunt that's not, you know, well paired with what we have to offer, and then they end up just coming on a fairly expensive 5-day hiking trip.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's smart. It makes sense. Like, you want them to have a quality experience, and you're right. You got to be in ripping shape, and it's like you when they team up with you, it does have to be a good fit. But you're just like one of the funnest guys to go hunting with. Just your knowledge base, and then your drive when you're in the woods, and knowledge of the country. And so, dude, I'd do it just to learn from you. I know I pick up tips every time I hunt with you. I love adventuring with you, man, and I just want to do more of it in the future. You're so good at inviting me on so many different places you go and things you do. And gosh dang it, we both just run so busy. But I'm gonna take a step back and have more time. And you're like one of the guys I want to adventure with more for sure.
Nice, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So you're doing that, spring bears coming up, and then you're going to guide deer and elk hunters this year. Is this through Latitude as well?
I can offer some hunts through here. I'm just partnered recently with Lazy J Bar O Outfitters out of Big Timber.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of more on like the Beartooth Absaroka Beartooth area, which would be cool. It's just nice like that. There's overnight usage over there as well, so we can really offer some true like wilderness backpack backcountry experience, which I think a lot of people are wanting to do. Not that they don't want to do a lodge-based hunt or something like that, but I think there's a real pull for people to want to come out and actually go on like a real more than the hunt is to go on like an actual adventure while hunting. And there's only so much you can do with like day hunts of being able to really experience that sense of adventure. Because like a day hunt, you're out there for like 10, 12 hours, right? But if you're backpacking, I mean, it's like a whole all-encompassing experience,
Oh, dude, what a great fit for you. It is like the longer
sure.
you hunt, like you like me, we've had a lot of success in the mountains with our bows and with our rifles or whatever the case is. But you start to figure out when you have that success, it's like when you're young, what drives you, is killing a big bull or a big buck, and that's still my drive. I still like that's the end goal for sure. But you just start to find more fulfillment and more enjoyment out of like the journey and out of the experience and the adventure of it. Like all of a sudden an easy hunt doesn't interest me at all. It's like I want to go on an adventure, and the Absaroka Beartooth Range definitely offers an adventure. Like I think I've about died in that range a couple times. Like it's pretty rugged and brutal up there, isn't it? But it's got such a great population of elk, and then it's got some giant mule deer in it too, man. Like I remember I had my goat hunt in there in like 2013, and I located one heck of a buck in there, and I made a play at him, and he was living like just classic high country mule deer above 10,000 feet in just this rugged basin. And dude, I made this play on him with my bow. And, it took me like an hour to loop around him, and I come down and I see him right there, and I sneak in, and he's in bow range as I peek around the tree, and I go, God, that doesn't look like the same buck. And I pulled up my binos, and it was like a big 3-point, which I probably should have arrowed anyways, but I was like, where'd the big buck go? Because there was a great big 4 that was with him, and I'm not sure what happened. I figured he was bedded there somewhere, and so I hung out in bow range of that 3-point for an hour and a half, for like as long as I can until like last light, and he never showed up. So I'm not sure if he just separated or just got a wild hair and moved off, but there's some great muleys in that range too.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, you have such a vast wilderness there that it's like, it can like the animals can like refresh themselves, right? So it's like they never get so shot out to where it's like there's not big animals in there. It's like in Park County, if you look in the Montana state records, like you look at how many bulls and bucks are in the Montana state records from Park County, and it's like astounding. It's one of the top producing trophy counties like in the state.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. And yeah, the genetics in there, like those bulls are such dark, heavy horn mountain bulls. Like they're just the real deal, man. That's the real experience and a good fit for you. That overnight deal, being able to go overnight, like all of a sudden you're able to hunt like the style me and you like to hunt too, right? It's like we get to go for it and send it and go have an adventure. So what a wild offering for like guys to be able to team up with you. Are you doing both bow and rifle?
Yep. Yeah, we're doing both. We're doing archery elk paired with bear hunts in there. I feel like that's a pretty good fit. When you're archery elk hunting, it seems like the other animal that you see most often are bears, black bears,
Yes.
And so that presents a good opportunity to do a combo hunt. I've thought about doing some mule deer combination with that, but I just feel like generally, and you can probably speak to this as well, when you're archery elk hunting, most of the time you're a little bit lower than where those mule deer are probably going to be hanging out. I mean, you might hit some mule deer kind of on the fringe of where you're elk hunting, but if you're like in elk, you're probably not going to be in mule deer that time of year anyway. You know, it's like you start seeing those mule deer in the similar habitat once the rut kind of starts happening. And that September, it's like you're really gonna have to like change tactics if you want to like go after mule deer on an elk hunt that time of year, you know.
So true. Like you got to put your focus somewhere. Those combo trips, they hardly ever work out. At least for like elk and mule deer, it seems like you just have to put your effort in one or the other, you know. And if you're putting it into mule deer, then you're not into elk. And if you're putting it into elk, you're not into mule deer. You know, it's just the way it is. And that time of year too, like those bow hunts, it's like what you really want to go experience is the rut, like the most thrilling hunting on planet Earth. Like you just want to put all your effort getting into elk. And like you say, you'll definitely run across bears as you're hunting elk, but your focus is going to be chasing bugles and big bulls. And man, you just couldn't get like better country for an adventure. Just those canyons are so big. Like I've wanted to get back in there myself. I just love that country in there and the animals in there. But it is, I mean, that is an adventure. And like you say, these hunts that we go on, it's more about the experience and the journey, and that place is definitely going to give you an experience in there. You know, you can put on some miles in that country.
For sure. And it's nice to be able to kind of stretch your legs a little bit. You know, last year I was offering hunts kind of locally here, you know, and also in where I do my bear hunts, but you can't really like get out and stretch your legs too much. I mean, you can, but there's only so much country you can cover before you're kind of like walled off. And, you know, the Absarothi bear tooth, it's like, man, there's more than enough country for you to want to stretch your legs, you know, and it's like you can go too far in some of that stuff, but, you know, we'll keep it within our limitations, but definitely will have some big adventure in there for sure.
Yeah. Well, and the rifle hunts will be killer, dude. We've talked about late season rifle hunts. I think that taught me as much in my hunting career as any of the hunting I've ever done. Like those late season rifle hunts, that's an experience in itself. I think it's like, you know, like experiencing the September rut for elk it is so thrilling, and it almost changes your life when you go do it. I think it's the same thing with late season hunting with the rifle for those elk. When they're in their winter range, you know, here in Montana, we have public pressure, and so those bulls run a pretty tight program, but gosh, you have to glass, it's cold, you got to put on miles, like you just got to really hunt your butt off. But man, I found so much fun and enjoyment and so much knowledge in hunting that late season. So what a great offering there too, to team up with somebody with a rifle, so you have an extended range. So if you do find a big bull, you've got a pretty good chance to kill him. And man, what a great offering for guys to be able to go on that late season November rifle hunt.
For sure. And especially, you know, you get weather like we had last year, and like the migration was like on, you know, like that was some of the craziest. That was probably one of the craziest late season hunts I've ever seen. You know, last year. I mean, obviously I was hunting in a different area than where I'll be guiding, but that was unlike anything I've ever seen. And that's what you hope for, you know, and you just like, that was nuts. I've never seen that many elk as I saw last year. And like, that's the weather that like every year you hope for. And like the year before we didn't get it. We didn't get it the year before that. But it's like, man, when that weather hits right and it's just like winter, God, it's pretty, I mean, it's comparable to the rut, I feel like, in my opinion, just because you're seeing so many animals every day, you know. It's like, and they have to be out in the open that time of year most of the time because they have to feed, you know, like that's the only thing keeping them alive is going out, eating that grass, like, and that, you know, that's going to fuel them and keep them warm. And just you know, you got that rifle, so you got the extended range, and like the possibility if you see one to kill that elk is way high. Like in archery season, man, you see some big bulls for sure, but that does not mean you're going to kill that bull. That doesn't even mean you're going to get within a quarter mile of that bull. But like, you know, rifle season, God, especially late, man, if you see that bull in that pocket that he's hanging out in and you don't like, you know, you don't mess it up on the way in there, you got a really good chance of killing that thing.
So true. Well, in that weather, it's almost like a 1 in 10 year deal, but it's not. It's 1 in 10 years when you get the absolute magic where it goes insane and blows out your eyeballs or whatever. But you tend to get stretches of that weather every season. Where you get a big storm that comes in and you can capitalize on it. I actually do good during the archery season just because I know this country so well and where the elk show up at that I do really good in like September, October snowstorms that these elk start to tease their winter range spots, start to come out on the fringes, and just knowing where they're going to show up and being in front of them. Well, 2 years ago I killed that great bull doing that, hunting that snowstorm, so I love hunting the weather like that. And again, it's about the journey and the experience, and that just offers like so much adventure. It's so fun. Are you comboing that elk hunt with mule deer then?
Yeah. So all the rifle hunts will be offered with deer and elk. People are more than welcome to buy with a non-resident combination license. I think you're offered a wolf tag for like $50, which I think if there's any time you're going to kill a wolf, it's probably right then, and you'd be an idiot not to buy that wolf tag. Like that's $50. Like that's a drop in the bucket.
For sure. Yep. Yeah. Oh, dude, what how cool! Like, it's a unique experience to be able to hunt mule deer during the rut too. And in a mountain zone like that, they just grow such heavy, big, dark horns, kind of like the one you shot last year. But it's just like such a great time of year to be able to hunt the rut. Like, you can't rut hunt across the country. There's not very many tags, and you have to draw a specific tag. But the Montana, they allow us to hunt muleys during the rut with a rifle. So it's like during that time of year to be able to have a mule deer tag and be up in those mountains, you don't know what you're going to run into up there.
No, it's a very special thing. 'Cause like you're saying, like if you look at tag availability across the West, as far as hunting mule deer in November, it's like pretty minimal. And, people, I hear this a lot of like, I swear on like the bad weather years, and by bad weather, I mean very mild, of guys being like, oh, we killed all the deer. There's no big bucks left in Montana, blah, blah, blah. And then you have a year like last year where it snows, from opening day until the last weekend. And I mean, I can't tell you how many big bucks I saw on the feeds of people from Montana. And I don't think anybody was griping about there not being big bucks left in the state. You hit that weather window right, and it's like, man, those things just seem to come out of the woodwork, and even if you don't get that weather, if you just hunt hard and kind of keep your nose at the grindstone, there's always a chance of finding that big buck hanging out in the pocket. And I think more than anything, people talk about being physically in shape, but man, these late season hunts and any hunting in general, I feel like you just gotta have the right mental fortitude to be like, to realize that, man, yeah, you might have 3 or 4 days of not seeing what you're after, but all it takes is like that one split second where your head is in the game, you're down and out, but you keep on it, and then you see that animal that you're finally after. Yeah, that might be day 5 or day 6 of the hunt, but it's like you got to keep mentally in there. I've had clients that check out after like a day and a half, and you're just like, dude, you paid all this money. Like, I mean, it's no skin off my back if you quit, but I don't want you to quit. You just got to, if you can keep your mental focus there, and I know it's extremely difficult, especially if you're not doing it all the time, but if you can keep that mental focus there and just remind yourself, like, anything can happen at any moment, that'll take you farther than any like physical training you can possibly do. I'm not advocating people show up out of shape, but I am advocating that like keeping a strong mental attitude is paramount in killing anything across the board. I mean, to this day, the biggest bull I've ever guided in Montana was also the oldest client I've ever taken out. And that guy marched 2,500 feet up the mountain that morning to kill that bull, and like I've had guys, in their 30s and 40s just check out and not even like, they're 100 yards into it and they're like, what am I doing? And it's like, but then you have that guy like old Stan. I mean, his attitude, he had the best attitude of any hunter I've ever had. And he was just looking at me like, hey man, I can only do what I can do, but let's try it. And he had it was a long day, and it was, I felt like I was going to kill him, but he he stuck with it, and he ended up killing like the bull of life. I mean, it's the highlight of my guide career right there, you know. And it's like I wish that more people had that. We can only do what we can do, but we're just gonna take it one step at a time.
Man, that's you're tapping into something, Brandon. Like successful hunters, sometimes it's tough to put your finger on why you're successful, but you're right. Like it all starts and ends with your attitude and mental fortitude. And, you know, part of being in good physical shape is I'm able to develop my mind in the off season by making myself put on those miles or that elevation or whatever it is. But you're right. And that when, you know, for the key for anybody to be successful is to keep your head in the game, to keep believing it can come together. And it's easy for even us experienced guys to get beat down or to feel like we're not going to come out on top or not going to be successful, and then not have our head in it and be putting full effort and almost like giving a half-ass effort, you know. And so that you're so right, and I think that's something that everybody can tap into, that the key to success is mental fortitude, keeping your head in the game, and like you say, just like I'm going to do what I can do. You know, whatever your limitations are, you're going to give it your all on a hunt. But I find that on my early season bow hunts. I mean, heck, on my moose hunt this year, 30 days of trying to keep my head in the game, dude. It was like, oh my gosh, I about lost my mind a couple times. You know, I went the first 7 days and didn't see a moose. You know, it's like
Whoa.
It was a grind. It's like a mountain unit. And, you know, I can remember back when I've seen good bulls, but that's over 25 years of spending time in there. And so then I started to turn up moose and I started to dial it in. But really, I had to keep my head in the game. And I found myself at times, like I said it as a joke to my buddies to make them laugh, that I must be the shittiest moose hunter on planet Earth, you know, because I've been to the Alaskan Yukon and now I've got this Shiras tag. And I would go look for moose, and I didn't see any for the first 7 days, and my buddies saw a great bull in this drainage, and I'm like, oh man, I'm the worst moose hunter alive, you know. And so I said it as a joke, and it was funny, and I didn't really mean it. But then I started to repeat that even when I was by myself and I was not seeing moose. I'm like, man, I'm a crappy moose hunter. Like, I just can't seem to find a bull. And I'd almost felt lost because I didn't know which tactic to use. I didn't know whether to drive roads. I didn't know whether to grab master vantage points, or I didn't know whether to still hunt like up bottoms or up drainages or still hunt into country. And what ended up working was a combination of the three. I actually ended up killing my bull still hunting. Like I hiked up a canyon a couple miles and then ended up finding them up there, and there was moose tracks up that canyon. But, you know, I realized like how important self-talk is. And even though I said it as a joke, I started to almost repeat it to myself. And when I repeated it to myself, to be honest, like I had to make sure I was giving full effort for every day I was moose hunting. Whether I was going to see a moose or not, like I had to realize the opportunity in front of me, that I have a Shiras moose tag that I've waited 25 years for. I have my bow, and I've like got the, you know, I've got the opportunity to hunt them in this mountain range. Like that is a special opportunity. And even if I don't kill one, just to have that tag in my pocket, like I've got to give it my all. So when I end season, if I don't kill a moose, I know that I gave it absolutely everything I had. And so I had to tell myself, like, stop the negative talk. Like, you're a great hunter. Like, you just need to think through this like any hunt. Like, what's going to be effective? What's your next move? Where has moose been? Like, keep trying, keep dialed in, keep your head in the game, keep putting forth full effort every single day you have. And it's amazing how many times things come together, and it came together on that hunt. But I just love what you're talking about, that mental fortitude. And you see so many clients, and you see the difference in attitude, and then the difference of guys that are successful and not. And like the old guy that you guided to a giant bull had the best attitude, and we're capable of so much more than we ask ourselves, right? We get beat down mentally, and then we don't want to put in the miles or the elevation because we don't feel like we're going to see, you know, a giant bull up there. But this guy is like, man, I mean, like there's a saying that you only that we only put forth 40% of what we're really capable of. And you saw it with that old guy that, you know, climbed 2,500 vertical feet. Like, he just got his head right, put a smile on his face, and just said, I'm going to do everything I can do to kill a bull. And he pushed himself to his limits and then ended up killing a giant bull. But that's so the key to success everywhere we go, everything we do. Don't you agree?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you can take that lesson into life, you know, obviously, but it's like that positive energy is like contagious, and you know, it's nice. I know that I'm personally guilty of getting a little negative sometimes, you know, and especially like you're saying of like, it's kind of easy sometimes to slip into like that negative mindset and like kind of putting yourself down. And like, man, it is kind of important, like to try to talk yourself up a little bit. Like, you're not trying to be cocky or anything, but it's like you want to try to, you know, give yourself some positive reaffirmance to like keep going. You know, like last year on my rifle elk hunt at the end of the season, I mean, dude, I had been out in the field since August 10th, you know, and I'd been in a variety. I'd had the worst season in Alaska I've ever had. I mean, it rained 25 to 30 days. I was in the field. I was not super successful. It was really tough. Montana, as soon as rifle season started, we just got like hammered with weather. It was really tough for my clients to deal with. So I had like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it was of just like really tough, you know, trying to like, not that I was coddling these hunters, but trying to like push them to keep hunting. And then, you know, I'm left with the last week of the season to try to get my own elk. And there was definitely, you know, points with trying to be like, you know, how do you balance like trying to motivate yourself to be out there, and then like, you know, what the realities are. And, you know, last year was a special deal because how good the elk hunting was in rifle season. So it was kind of easier to, you know, motivate, but it was still like, dude, we were grinding for like 4 or 5 days. And then on like that 5th day, it's like, dude, even when we saw that bull, I mean, we had just hiked in there like 5.5, 6 miles and climbed. I mean, it was, I think we were at like 3,000 elevation gain when we saw the elk, and the elk was across the drainage, you know, and it was just like, the buddy I was with just looked at me like, dude, you're out of your mind. You know, he's like, he's trying to be like, maybe I'll just stay here and just like hunt around here. And I was like, yeah, you could do that. But I was like, it'd be really helpful, you know, if you came with me to like go kill this bull. And, you know, eventually I kind of, you know, I convinced him to go with me, and he was really glad that he did. But, you know, I was having to kind of like, you know, kick him a little bit, you know, being like, come on, dude, we like, you know, I could see that bull was in a spot that if we got over there, like, he's within range and, like, we're going to kill that thing, you know, and just being like, but it was, you know, that was 5 or 6 hard days of, like, really tough, like, grinding. You know, it was not that it was hard to stay in the game because we were seeing stuff every day, but it was like, man, it was really cold and, you know, a lot of snow. I think, you know, I shot that bull and it was, like, knee-deep snow, you know, and that ain't easy, especially when you're walking, you know, especially in that country, because if you're not walking at least 10 miles a day, like, you're not even hunting, you know, and like you couple that with the, you know, low single to maybe low double digits, and it's like, dude, you just gotta like positive affirmations a little bit, you know. And it's like, I always like to reference the movie The Edge with Anthony Hopkins, and like they, you know, they're being stalked by a bear in the Alaska wilderness after they get involved in a plane crash. But he's like, you know, his attitude is what one man can do, another can do. You know, so it's like you see all these people being successful, and the only difference between you and those people that are successful is their mental attitude to keep going. You know, and like, God, I just wish that everybody could just, and certain clients just check out after a while, and you just wish that you could just be like, just shake them a little bit and be like, dude, you just got to keep going, just one foot in front of the other. Every step you take is one step closer to your goal, you know, like just keep hammering.
Dude, it's so true, man. You just got to keep your head in the game. I know what you're talking about with the clients checked out, and I know what you're talking about when you talk about, you know, your personal feelings and where you get. And like you say, it was good elk hunting, but to try to trudge through that snow, it takes 3 times the exertion to do a mile than it does on dry ground. Like, you're just exhausted. And then dealing with those cold temps, starting a fire everywhere you're at, like the cold takes a different kind of toughness too. Like, that wears on you too. And so you have all these things wearing on your positive mental attitude, you know, your positive mental fortitude to get it done, to be successful. And so, you know, it's like one of the beautiful things about being a human is like the more you put into something, the more it means to you. So like during tough times, when you can keep a positive attitude and you can keep putting forth effort, and it comes together, like, the harder it is, the more it means to you when you kill that bull or kill that buck. It's like you climbed Everest. Like, you got to the edge of the breaking point, or where, a lot of times you've turned back, or you haven't keep putting forth effort, or, like, it would have been so easy for you and your buddy to sit there and see that bull off, and you guys are already 6 miles back and it's deep snow, and look at that bull and go, man, he's just too far to pack out, or man, he's just too far to get to with the snow, or, like, it's really easy to make excuses. And I hunted with a cameraman, Kobe Owens, and like, we were talking, and he was saying, like, the difference between hunting with me and hunting with other guys is I'm always trying to give ourselves a chance. Like, I never quit. I am always like, there's no buck too far, there's no adventure too big, and there's, like, every day we are going to go out and we are going to grind. But he said, the difference between me and other guys he's hunted with is that when we see a buck, me and him, we go for it with a bow and arrow, and we're going to go try to make a stalk and go try to kill the buck. He says hunting with other guys, a lot of times there's just an excuse there, and there's always an excuse, and you don't want to go in and blow out some buck or blow out some bull. Like, you definitely can't be reckless, but you also, like, have to give yourself a chance. You have to try. You have to go out there and give it. And he said that was the difference of hunting, and not like I'm tooting my own horn. I'm just trying to talk about the difference between, other hunters and me that's consistently successful with my bow. And he was saying, like, the difference is you always go for it. Like, you are always in it. And I think there's something to that.
That's hard. Yeah. And I've been there. I've been like, I don't want to go over there, and it's like, it's always easy to find an excuse. You can always do it.
Yes.
You can always figure it out and, like, blah, blah, blah. But the key to it, I mean, really is, and obviously there's extenuating circumstances where sometimes, like, you have to be smart. And there's times where it's like, okay, like, yeah, I try to balance that ambition with the, like, realities of what you're kind of facing. It's like, there is kind of a fine line there. And sometimes it is hard to like figure out where that mesh is, and to feel personally that you did give it your all, but you also hunted smart, because you definitely don't want to, like, I think when we're all, like, kind of starting out, especially, like, hunting and stuff, it's like, I was guilty probably of going, like, too hard. I know for a fact that I did, and, like, I wasn't hunting smart, but, part of what I learned from that is, like, what I can really do in a day. And, some of that maybe comes from the, like, summer hiking that I do and stuff of, like, I did a hike last summer that was, like, what I thought mapped out was going to be like a 12-mile hike. It turned into being like 18 and a half. And just, I did that in like less than, it was like 13 hours, I mean, it was a grind, but it was like, you do stuff like that, and it's like, God, you can, yeah, that buck's over there a mile and a half, like, that ain't that far. It's like, you can cover that ground, especially if you just stay in it and just keep telling yourself, like, one foot in front of the other, like, you can make that happen. But it is easier to, like, just try to step back and be like, him and Han, and make an excuse why you don't want to go over there. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, the only person you got to answer to is yourself. It feels a lot better knowing that you gave it everything, rather than, like, you kind of copped out. And, obviously I've been guilty of it. I've definitely done it. I've definitely had hunts where I'm out there, I'm definitely not giving it 110%. And then I know I've been, like, driving home and been like, I wish I would have sent it harder. And then the only thing I'm thinking about after that is like, oh man, I need to, next time I'm going to go harder. Next time I'm actually going to give it. And then it's the times that you actually do give it, dude, those when you kill stuff. And, like, this year I wasn't blessed with a ton of time out there, and I just gave it everything I had, and it ended up working out, but it was like I made the most of the time that I had out there. And that's like paramount, especially if you're, on, like, a guided trip, you have, like, 5 or 6 days generally. And it's like, you got to send it, and you got to just stay in it to where, like, that's the only time you got. So you might as well give it everything you have.
Dude, that's it. Yeah, it's so well said. And, like, I really like that point you made about it's a fine line between effort and recklessness, and you can always make an
Right.
excuse, but sometimes there is a reason not to go over there. And like you said, when I was younger, I had almost too much gusto. Like I would just
Oh yeah.
anything I saw, I mean, I'd see a buck that was so far away and I'm already so far back in, and I'd make a play even though he wasn't in a good position or even though I didn't have a good win, and I'd go over there and of course I blew up the whole scenario, never got a chance at him, and then I just had the long walk back in the dark or whatever to get back to camp and go, God, I was such an idiot there. But it is a balance. You can also sit on that vantage point and look at a buck in a good spot and make an excuse why not to go for him. So it is like this fine line, and it's a gray area. It's not black or white. And so I definitely have got more patient as I've got older. So I've been able to take this gusto and this go for it attitude, and no buck too far, no bull too far, put on the miles, do the elevation. I've been able to pair that with like being patient and waiting for the right moment to go in and make that play, or to sit back and sit on a buck or a bull because he isn't in the right spot. Wait for him to get into that right spot. Or like I get in close and I don't force the issue. I know that I've got days on my side, and if it comes together, great. But if it doesn't, I'll just lay here inside 100 yards of this buck and I'll try again tomorrow, And so I've been able to pair like strategy and intelligence with my go for it attitude, and that seems to be like the perfect mix. And so you have to be real with yourself when you're looking at an animal and think to yourself, am I making an excuse because I don't want to go over there, or is it really like a spot where I shouldn't go and I should wait for a better opportunity? And so you kind of got to talk yourself through those moments, or think your way through those moments, to make sure that you are giving absolute full effort, but you're also like not being reckless with your stocks or your time. There's nothing worse than and with a bow, it's just so difficult. So you can go all in, and you're just not going to kill a lot of the animals you go for, even though you're putting forth full effort, And it takes like this adapting and evolving as a hunter to kind of figure out what that perfect mix is. But the whole reason I've ever been successful is because of my tenacity, or because of my go for it attitude or mental fortitude that I keep pushing. And that goes for like not only when you're on a tough hunt or you can't find critters or you've got to go put miles on, but that goes for like the lows of hunting too. Like it happens, man. We screw up stocks, and that is a heartbreaker, and it cuts you to like your core. Like you've put everything into this hunt and you're 5 days in, and the buck of a lifetime stands up and you airball it. Like that is tough to get yourself over. It puts you in such a low that the only thing you want to do is go, well, that was my chance. I screwed it up. It's time to hike out of here. That was the hunt. I'm not going to get another opportunity. It's like so easy to give into that or give up. But
Yeah.
like a really good mental attitude is to be able to be upset by it. It hurts. But to just go, well, I just got to pick myself up and keep going. And if I don't kill a buck, at least I'm going to give effort for these last 3 days I have. Maybe I'll find that buck again. Maybe I'll travel to this other canyon. Maybe I'll turn up a buck in there. But like being able to pick yourself up from like the lows, and that's like hunting pressure, that's not finding game animals, that's like a big low in hunting is like a miss or a screwed up stock where you make a stupid mistake, or whatever the case is. But just being able to pick yourself back up and go, okay, get back in the game, like get your head right, like it isn't over yet, like I've still got a chance, I'm still up here and I've still got arrows in my quiver, like it can still happen. But I can't tell you how many times like I go through those lows, like it, not that I miss on every hunt, but every hunt has lows in it that you have to like pick yourself up out of and continue to push forward. And I think that's a huge difference maker as well.
For sure. And I mean, if there's a hunter out there that claims they don't miss, they are full of it. Like I missed like last year on my bull. I mean, it was a very tough shot. I was like, we see him, we get in on him, and we're like 315 yards, and he's bedded in the timber. The only thing I can see is his neck and his head. And I like shimmied around on this ridge for like an hour and a half, like maybe not an hour and a half, but like an hour, trying to like get a different window or get a different vantage. But it was to the point where it's like, dude, if this bull stands up, I am not going to be able to get a shot. So I'm going to like take I'm going to shoot my shot. Right. And so I get lined up on him. The only thing I can see is his head and his neck. And I mean, I can see half of his face, and I can see his neck about down to his shoulder. So it's like, I don't have a big window here. Right. And I get lined up on him. It was a tough shot because he was bedded in north-facing timber, so I'm shooting to the south, and this is at like, I think I shot him like right at noon, so it's like solar noon too, so the sun is at the highest point in the sky. The sun is coming into my scope, right? And I'm just like, you know, I'm thinking like, dude, I can't, like, I can barely see out of my scope, like, this is rough. Anyway, I get lined up on him, my buddy's on the spotter, I shoot, airball it, just totally miss, you know, and like, I'm like trying to give myself a little bit of credit. I'm not shooting it at like a very big window. Anyway, the muzzle blast puts snow in my scope, and like the bull's sitting there like looking around, and so I trying to wipe the snow out of my scope, reload. I get back on him, and he clearly, like, it must have just like went right over him, because he's like sitting there looking around like, what just happened? You know, like clearly he heard the shot. And I'm like sitting there, sun glare in my scope still, and now my scope's wet, so it's like the visibility is like, oh, woof. And it would have been pretty easy at that point to be like, this isn't going to work. And then I just like, man, you know, I was like, now you can do this. You can make this shot. And I just had the belief in myself that I could do. And sometimes it does take a miss. Dude, you already got lead in the air. What's to stop you from throwing another one out there, you know, like whatever. And ended up on that second shot, just like lacing him like right behind the skull and just like dropped him, you know. But it was like, dude, sometimes that shot you get is not ideal, and you got to be prepared to like capitalize on it. You know, might not be like dead broadside standing there 200 yards, or, you know, dead broadside at 30 with a bow. It's like, dude, sometimes it's going to be a little bit more challenging than you thought. It's not going to be what it was. You know, it's not sitting there shooting on the range. And I like to, you know, personally, I like to go shoot, whether it's a bow or a rifle, from like, I like to try to shoot challenging shots where I'm not like shooting just straight at the target. Like, I'll go out there and like set up in a weird position to where like my body's in a weird position. You know, it's hard to get my rifle set up so that when I go in the field, it's not like I'm more prepared for those situations. Like, dude, it's really like, it's hard to replicate anything on the mountain, right? But it's especially hard if you just go and you only shoot at the bench, or you shoot at like the local archery range that's like a straight, flat, level ground, you know, and like, that's not going to replicate. Yeah, it's going to allow you to be sighted in, but it's not necessarily making you like a good archer or a good rifleman to some degree. Like, you need to get out there and shoot those like off camber shots, or shoot those like unlevel shots, real uphill, real downhill, you know, get a crosswind, and just try to like, not that you can replicate it on the mountain, but just try to replicate things not being perfect, because it's never going to be perfect, and it's never going to be how you thought it up in your head. And there's always going to be some kind of like weirdness to it. And you got to be able to like, that's a really hard thing to do, but I think that makes people like us more successful, that like, you know, we've been in those situations and stuff. But, you know, for people that aren't all the time, if they can go out and try to put themselves in that position, it'll make it easier on the mountain when things aren't perfect, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the guys that are good at it have a kill switch, you know, and you flip that kill switch,
For sure.
And what that means is like you just have the instincts, or you make the moves to be able to kill those animals. You don't get frozen. You've been there before. Like, you make it happen, like you with the dude. I can just picture you on that ridge, and it's you know, like, you bring up a good point in your practice. Like, right now in the off season is the time to improve your skill sets with your rifle, with your bow, to get as good as you can get. So when you get in the field, it gives you your best chance of success. And you know, it's like, you dial in your rifle, you dial in your bow, and sure, you do that on a bench, you do that on a range, you do that with good footing. But once that stuff's dialed, that's when you need to challenge yourself out there. And you learn pretty quick that mountain shooting is way different than shooting at a bench or at an archery range or in the backyard with my flip-flops. I mean, I can continually put arrows in the center of a target 80, 100 yards, no problem. But you get on the mountain and you start shooting angles and you have uneven footing and you have that dose of adrenaline, man. I am 20 yards worse out in the mountains, and I know that. It's just going to be
For sure.
a higher degree of difficulty. And the same thing with rifle is you see guys that become really good shots, but then all of a sudden they're going to get a shot at a bull and they don't know how to get into a shooting position on the mountain. Like all of a sudden prone doesn't work, and so
Right.
they're sitting and trying to put a bag, and they just can't get comfortable and make a good shot because they didn't practice getting in all those shooting positions, which is part of like developing your killer instincts. And I'm like you, like I have good killer instincts, but if I miss a shot, you better not give me a second shot, because it's like a fighter getting hit in the
Yep.
face. Like the second shot,
Yep.
I don't know if I've ever missed a second shot. Like they always seem to hit money. I don't know if it's just like
Oh, yeah.
the adrenaline gets out of me, or like I don't know what it is, but I just I snap into it. And so like I really like to make it count on the first shot, one clean kill, perfect arrow. But it's hunting, and it just doesn't always happen that way. But they better not give me a second shot, because that thing's going through the vitals. Like,
For
you
sure.
know, but that's only due to all the practice I do. That's only due to all the difficult archery shots I make, to the thousands of arrows I shoot in the off season, developing my archery skill. That I have good killer instincts in the mountains, and I shoot the angles. I shoot uneven footing, which it makes a huge difference. I shoot with the pack on my back. I shoot at 3D targets. I put in all this work in the off season to have the best shooting skill set I can with my bow, so I can give myself the best chance on those difficult shots, and it gives me a lot of confidence that when I do get a shot at an animal, that I can put it through the vitals. And yeah, I just think that's so important what you're saying. It's like you get your stuff doped in to where it's shooting really accurate and everything's on, and then it's about really getting out and challenging yourself, sprinting back and then shooting with an elevated heart rate, or doing a bunch of push-ups where your arms are jello and you're not holding steady but you still got to execute a good shot. Like just doing all these things to try to replicate what it's going to feel like in the mountains when that big bull's standing there or that big buck's standing there, because it's like easy to sit here, on a call or on our office and talk about how good we are. It's another thing in the mountains, man. It's just not easy to make good shots all the time. It's, especially you're so good with your rifle, so good with your bow. I'm so good with my bow. Misses still happen, and so I just know that I've got to put in the work in the off season to be as good as I can, when I get a chance during season, because once season gets here, you have the skill set you have, and you're not improving anymore because you're not shooting multiple arrows per day. You're not working on your skill set, so you're actually getting a touch worse as the season goes on, but you only have the skill set that you've worked for during season. That's all. You don't have a chance to improve once season's there, and you have to focus on your execution and doing things right, but really the improvement and the work's put in on the off season.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, just you want to be as dialed as you can, because I know personally, especially guiding and stuff, it's like, man, once the season gets here, I am not shooting a bunch. Like, I might be lucky if I get to shoot like a couple shots, in rifle season. Like, I don't know if I've ever really been able to like go practice, or to like go shoot just to shoot. It's like, man, you're in kill mode.
You got to spend all your time hunting.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, you don't want to be spending your time on the range in season because like you're not dialed in. Like that's the last thing you want to do. Like you definitely want to be like dialed. But, like you're saying, like, yeah, people definitely, you don't want to get down about that miss. And like that, I've had some misses and I've had some bad shots where it does kind of a little devastating, but it's like, man, you just got to keep grinding. And I don't know, especially in the field, like you are talking, that second shot, if you miss the first one, you get that second opportunity. I don't know what it is or why, but it's like, I don't know if I've ever gotten like a second opportunity, like you're saying. I've never missed. It's like you're just like, nope, flunk.
It's so
like maybe it's just predator mode engaged, and your brain's just like, nah, we're not doing that again. Like here's a correction. Boom.
There's something to it for sure. But yeah, you're right. And confidence kills. Like having confidence in your weapon and in your shooting, to walk around the mountains with confidence, it just allows you to put on more miles, more elevation, to put more into your stocks, and just to put in full effort to make it happen, because you know when you get there you can make the shot, or you've got confidence in your weapon. And so yeah, like building that confidence in the off season is so important, and that's with a bow and with a rifle. I've seen guys miss some really easy shots with rifles too. And so, I think it's important to practice and build that skill set, but also be thinking about your execution. I know, a couple of years ago you killed that giant bull over in my neck of the woods, and I remember you talking about your practice with your bow and how dialed you were and how good you were shooting your bow. And then I remember you talking about that bull and how he crossed the creek and he was walking and you were going to get your shot right there. And I remember you thinking back to your execution and executing correctly, and you put a perfect arrow through that bull. It's not easy to do, even for us experienced hunters, right?
No, not at all. And I mean, I fought with, target panic with my bow for like a solid year, and then, had to overcome that, and that was not easy. And it's just like, that sucked. But then, like, kind of being able to like overcome that and put that perfect arrow in that bull, because like the previous year I like made a bad shot on an elk and it was like kind of devastating, and then I just, put in the work, and the next year went back and just like, that was a culmination of like whatever that was, like 12 years of bow hunting for me personally, and it was like, it doesn't happen every day, but man, that felt good,
Oh man, it's the best feeling. Well, and two, it's like when you're out in the field and whatever the case is with a bow or with a rifle, it is like really focusing on that execution with that dose of adrenaline. Like, the first time we shoot at animals, we hardly look at our pin or hardly know what we did. It's like a car crash, but you get better over time of really being able to execute good shots on critters under an intense amount of adrenaline. And I think that goes to off-season training as well. And like you say, you just can't replicate shooting at a giant bull. That's like the goal of your lifetime. That's tough to replicate. But what you can do is you can shoot under high-pressure situations, shooting in front of people, shooting with buddies, shooting tough shots, high degree of difficulty. Like that all helps build that skill set, and definitely comes into play when you're shooting at critters. So that's the goal, man. That's what I'm working on, is like always trying to be just a bit better. And another thing, like with those misses, you're right, is they can ruin your whole season, your whole off season. They can devastate you to miss, or like especially if you have a bad shot or something like that. But in the moment or on that hunt, and wounding something's different. Putting an arrow into something, then you have a tough decision to make. What you're going to do from there moving forward. But if you have a clean miss, it's almost a gift. It's like you get to keep hunting and you get to chase that redemption. You get to really think about your execution and how to do it right. But just picking yourself up from those lows, like you can be devastated later, but you just can't ever have them back. Like once you miss, you can beat yourself up over it. You can ruin your whole hunt. You can ruin your whole off season, but really you can't ever get that shot back. Like the only thing, for me, like the only thing I can focus on then is like gaining another opportunity and proving to myself that I can do it and do it correctly. And so like after a miss or after a stock where I totally messed up, like instead of just dwelling on that, like I definitely look over it, how I could be better and where I messed up. But then I just don't dwell on it or sit in that headspace of poor me or like I suck or, whatever. I just, I'm a good bow hunter. I'm a good shot. I can X correctly. I've just got to go out and earn another opportunity and prove that I can do it, And so that's kind of the headspace I get in, like after those lulls. It's like, man, I just can't have it back. I can't rewind time. That shot was done. All I can do is focus on the next one.
Yeah. And that can be really hard, but if you can just, it's easier said than done, but that is a huge part of it, is just being able to pick yourself up after some lows and just being like, all right, all they got to do, because you're not going to kill anything back at the truck or back at home. Like, the gift is being able to be out there in the field. So you might as well try to take advantage of it and try not to and I know it's hard. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you're guilty of it, is like just getting into that negative headspace after like, you know, some kind of whatever lull or down or, you know, negative experience, like you just gotta like try to just put one foot in front of the other. Eventually those feelings will fade, but if you don't focus on it, and that's hard because a lot of times as hunters we're hyper focused anyway. So it's like it's easy to hyper focus on those negatives, but sometimes you got to take a step back and kind of realize where you're at, what you're doing, how lucky you are to be able to do that. Because, you know, there's a lot of people in the world that never get to do anything even close to what we get to do every fall. You know, and like that in itself is a gift to just be able to be out there and sort of take that step back and being like, okay, like let me look at the big picture here. Like I'm still hunting, you know, life is pretty good. I'm not in the office. I'm not, you know, not grinding out at the 9 to 5. Like that in itself is a gift, even if it's, you know, may seem negative at the time, but it's just something you got to keep going and try to keep that positive mental attitude, which can be difficult, but it's part of it.
So true, man. It's about perspective, and you know on these hunts you're going to go through highs and lows, and so just preparing yourself for those lows and getting through them. And you're right, it's through perspective, and it is a gift that we're able to be out there. But yeah, man, it's so fun to get you on the podcast. I always love these conversations. What do guys do, like, if they're interested in those deer elk hunts in Montana and that absorky that you're doing, whether it's with the bow or with the rifle? I know get a hold of you on social media, but they should get applying for the deer elk combo here pretty quick, right?
Yep, for sure. So I basically offer a full application service. If you get a hold of me, we kind of discuss the hunt, figure out if you're a good fit or not. We'll get you put in for the draw. And in Montana, the way the new kind of system works is if you are applying with an outfitter, you get an additional like 1.2 points going into the draw. So, you know, last year we had 100% of our clients draw. So when you go into it, if you go DIY, you're going to go into if you start out with 0 points, you're going to go into the draw with 1 preference point. If you select it, if you're going with an outfitter, you get to select, you know, applying with an outfitter, you get an additional 1.2 points. So you're going to go into the draw with 2.2 points, which gives you a huge leg up. You know, the kind of the caveat there is that if you apply with an outfitter, you're not legally obligated to hunt with that outfitter, but you cannot go out and hunt on your own. Like you can't draw a tag through the outfitter pool and then go hunt DIY. So you're kind of stuck hunting with an outfitter in some capacity. But yeah, if guys are interested, I offer we'll walk you through the application process, make sure you're doing everything right. But yeah, the application period closes here at the end of the month. So we're trying to get people applied as quickly as we can, just to make sure there's no hiccups or anything like that. But yeah, if people are interested, it's definitely a good idea to get on it sooner than later. But yeah, we have some availability, and feel free to reach out and kind of see what we're offering, and just see if we're a good fit. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I was going to ask when the deadline was. So yeah, it's end of the month, so we'll make sure we get this podcast out here directly and let guys know so they've got plenty of time to connect with you and try to line something up. But yeah, just no better guy to go with. And man, I just really appreciate your friendship, and we just have to do more adventures in the future. And yeah, I just wish you luck on that house and getting that thing complete. And I know you'll definitely be on some good adventures this season. So thanks, buddy. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Okay.
All right. That's a wrap. I just really enjoy my conversations with Brandon. I told him he's got a free pass for the podcast whenever he wants to come on. He's just so interesting and so knowledgeable. You know, last time I had him on, we talked about Alaskan adventures. If you guys didn't listen to that one, you guys should look back for it, where he got to hunt Dall sheep, or at least he was guiding for Dall sheep, and then hunted for his moose, and some pretty cool stuff in there. So really fun to talk to that guy. Thanks again for his time and being on. Again, you can find his Instagram at Durango Boone. Yeah, that's an episode. I want to thank my sponsors again for today's show. So I want to thank Black Ovis and Camo Fire. Black Ovis, just absolutely everything you need for your hunts. Camo Fire is that app where you can see some new deals. We do have that promo code for Black Ovis. It's Elevated 10. You can save 10% on your order. I also want to thank those guys over there at Stone Glacier. Again, Brandon Purcell uses Stone Glacier exclusively, really likes their gear, and I do as well. I love their gear. I love those guys that work there. Just nothing but respect. Like they're the same as you and I. They are out busting their butt on public ground, busting their butt, getting workouts, shooting their bow, shooting their rifle, trying to be the best they can be. So just nothing but respect for those guys, and I'm so happy to have them, to be partnered as part of the podcast. So I love their sleep systems and tents. Go check those things out. And also want to thank Outdoor Edge Knives. So you can check out their replaceable blade knives that they have. With that, yeah, man, just been shooting that Phase 4, super stoked on that thing. I'm using a new peep that's really helping out too. I played around with it a bit, so I think it's called Total Peep. But basically, it has an outside ring and then an inside ring. And the inside ring, I love shooting a 3/16 peep. I wanted to do like an Instagram on this because I think that peep makes such a difference of alignment of your anchor and the alignment to that sight aperture. So I'm using that Total Peep. It looks like, what's that? There's a brand that also has one out there. Let me just Google it while I got you guys here. Not that you guys want to listen to me Google, but there's another one out there that Dylan Ness is using, and he's saying he is getting awesome accuracy with it as well. But basically, it's an outside ring and then an inside diameter. And so if the peep's tilted a little bit, you don't get an oblong peep. You get the perfectly round aperture every single time you look through it. It just makes for great alignment and better accuracy. And I think that's definitely it's a Hamsky Pete is the one I was thinking of. I think that's the one Dylan is using. But man, the alignment is just great, and it just it pays to really take time when you're finding your comfortable anchor and making sure that those peeps lining up. I think it's really helping me with accuracy, or take my accuracy to a next level. And that Total Peep, it's got like a darker ring around it, like a bigger ring, and it kind of looks a little Crow Magnum on the bow. It's like a little bigger than the peeps I've had, but my shooting has just been lights out with that thing. So I'm gonna keep with the Crow Magnum Peep, but basically that darker ring around the outside just helps for better alignment all the time. And so when I'm pulling on my shot, I don't get out of alignment, and it still lets a bunch of light in. So I think it's a major advantage. It's just one of those little things that I think is really helping with accuracy. So you may check that out. And but yeah, I've been setting up this bow. I've been getting in my runs. Been fishing like a madman. Just really feel back to myself, and happy, spending good time with my family. My daughter came down last weekend, and then we got the fights, and I had my sister and her kids and my other half sister come down. It was just it's just been really fun enjoying this house, and just getting back to the life I love to live. And it's gonna get even better. Like, I am going on a big trip this spring, and I am counting down the days to go to Australia and hang with my good buddies. And so yeah, I absolutely can't wait for that. But yeah, just living my best life, like really eating good foods, taking good care of myself, and man, just enjoying things. So looking forward to spring here, and summer, and training hard, and spring season, spring bear. I missed a lot of spring bear last season due to building the house, so I'm excited to go hard this year for spring bear. And then yeah, just wrapping up these construction projects. I've been working hard on these things, and then got this. I put out an Instagram the other day, or a story on my garage and shooting range. I should probably post it to favorites so everybody can look back and see it. It's not completely done yet, but it's getting a lot closer. It's going to be well organized, and the shooting range is doing good. I got that part set up, and so man, just enjoying things here. I hope all is good with you guys, and I got to get some more applications in here. I think New Mexico's coming up. I know Montana's coming up. So yeah, I got to get my apps in here, and make sure I can draw some tags and have some hunts coming up this fall, and hopefully you guys are doing the same. So thanks as always for the support of the podcast and listening in to me ramble on intros and outros, but just trying to get you guys that good information that makes me a better bow hunter, and also, trying to give you guys the perspective to be healthy and happy and make the most out of this life. So thanks a bunch for listening in, guys. That's the podcast, and check in with you guys next week.